Hello YouTube. It has been a while since I last posted and life has been a little bit hectic over the past couple of months and I haven't had a huge amount of time to knit, and that's not a bad thing. I've had a really good time. I've been on holiday, I've traveled, I've been house sitting, like a lot of good stuff has gone on, but that's left me with little time and kind of energy for knitting, which means I haven't had a lot to post. And to be honest, as much as life has been good, I feel a little bit like, I don't know, ashamed of that. So that's what I really want to talk about today. I really want to sort of dive into my feelings about the sort of toxic productivity, as I would term it, culture within the online knitting community and probably the wider Five Arts community as well. I'm just obviously more focused on knitting. So I thought that's what we'll do today. I'll catch you up on what little knitting I have been doing over the past 2 months. I'll then talk a little bit about maybe my experience as like kind of, I guess I'm a content creator, although that feels like a little bit dramatic to say, but as somebody who posts their knits online, the sort of pressures that creates for you, and just in general, something a little bit about knit productivity. I think there's a lot of discourse online about it. I know there was a little bit of drama with TikTok lately, which we can kind of get into. So yeah, that's what we're going to do today. I really want to do a bit of a knit and chat, but for some reason, somewhere over the past 2 months, my wireless mic has completely packed up. So I'm stuck with my wired lav mic today. So I cannot actually knit because I'm like chained to the camera. And so I guess without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so first and foremost, what have I actually been knitting? Because I have knitted a little bit, just not nearly as much as I would usually / would like to do. And the first one is this, which is the Be My Bobble cardigan by Studio Doi or Doi Doi. I'm still not, every time I say it, I'm like, and I don't know how you pronounce that, but I love it. So look, it's all these bobbles, which are gorgeous. Turns out I hate knitting bobbles, just because in each row of bobbles, there's like 3,000 bubbles, and each of those bubbles takes, I don't know, minutes, whatever it takes to knit them, and it's just like, it just means that row is so slow going. So a few weeks ago, I was just, watching maths, and one bubble row, and this might just be me being slow, but one bubble row, I'm sure took me about an hour and a half, like really slow going. And I love this cardigan and I'm so excited to have it, but I will say, I'm realizing that I am definitely not a cable knit girl. I guess this isn't like strictly cable knit. I mean, it's got cables, right? I don't know whether you would call this sort of style of thing like a cable knit jumper. I don't really know what you'd call it, but it's this sort of complex, multiple cables, bobbles, whatever, that I love the look of, but it's so slow going that it puts me off from knitting altogether. And I had this years ago when I did my first ever like proper heritage Aran jumper, which is this one. And I love the finished product, but it actually caused me to take a 6-month hiatus from knitting because I was doing it and I was just like, I'm just losing the will. And that's just kind of the case with this one as well. And it's no criticism of the pattern because the pattern's gorgeous. It's just actually not how I like to knit. And anybody who watches my stuff would know, like, I love color work. I love my ferrule. I love my intarsia especially. And I think that is where the joy of knitting is for me, and that's something maybe I need to really learn. I think this was me trying to sort of show that I could still do it. I still had it in me. It turns out that actually I really struggle with it. But I will finish this and I'm gonna persevere with it, but just because it's quite a thick wool cardigan, I'm gonna put it down for now, give myself a bit of grace and say you don't have to continue doing this now because you're obviously not really in the mood for it. Love how it's turning out, but I really do think this has been a big culprit into why, when I have that small amount of free time in my sort of busy schedule, I'm not keen to like pick up my knitting, and I'm just sort of thinking, oh, I'll just scroll on TikTok or something instead, just because this is a bit of a headache. I'm sorry to say. So that is one reason. Now this next whip is partially why I'm feeling a lot of shame around the fact that I haven't been knitting, because I have deadlines. A few months ago, I think I mentioned the fact that one of my friends is having a baby and I'm knitting her a couple of baby items for that. And this is the first one. Bearing in mind the baby is now due next month. This is the baby cardigan that I plan to knit. And it is for a newborn. So, newborns are small, so maybe there's not that much more to it, but I really need to start working on this a little bit more. But once again, although this is pretty straightforward, I mean, it's just like stockinette, it's not giving. Do you know what I mean? It's not reigniting my love of knitting by any stretch of the imagination. It's a raglan, and so it's got all these little stitch markers in it, and you've got to increase and whatever. And it's, do you know what? It's another struggle. It's another struggle, but this one needs to be done. Right, I can rest the other one. This one needs to be done. But as you can see, where is the scrappy intarsia? Where is the passion? Because it's not here. and so it's not here, and therefore I am not knitting at the moment. But let's talk a little bit about actually the culture and why this is a problem. Like really who cares? Like I haven't knitted that much for 2 months or so because life has been busy. Like what is the problem with that? But the thing is, I think it's because if you're somebody who posts your knits online, right? And I've spoken about this a little bit before, maybe I've hinted at it, but I'll kind of speak about it in a bit more detail. If you're someone who posts your knits online, you want to keep some level of consistency with the amount that you post. And I know that sounds a bit contrived, it's a bit uncool to say that, and you're supposed to just be like, oh, whatever, I just post da da da. But like social media kind of strategy, like that is what you do. That's the only way that you can grow on social media. When I first started my knitting account on Instagram, I wasn't bothered about growth. I wasn't bothered about any of that. I just wanted a sort of repository to post pictures of my knits. So I wasn't like clogging up my main Instagram. And then after, you know, a year or whatever it was of this, I was like, do you know what? Like if I'm putting this much effort into my knitting, I want people to see it. Maybe people will say that's what's wrong with this generation, such generation of attention seekers, etc. But like that's what you do. And it's the same with TikTok, and it's obviously the same with YouTube. Like you post things, you put the time in. It's not an insignificant commitment of your time because you want it to be something. And that's kind of how I feel about it. And so with that, you need to have some level of consistency. So with normal content, like if I was a lifestyle content creator, just like off your back, you'd be able to post probably multiple times a day, at least multiple times a week, whatever, just because you're showing your lifestyle. So whatever you're doing, you could do. And that's not to oversimplify the role of a lifestyle content creator. So I'm sure that has their own issues as well. But the problem is with knitting and probably all craft social media things is that you need to have things to show in order to post. That means that you don't only spend whatever time you allot per week to creating content, but you've also got to spend a huge amount of time dedicated to your craft and creating something to show in your content, which means that there's like this necessary churn. Like it is a job. And I went through a stage of, you know, trying to post on TikTok, Instagram and YouTube once a week and having a week's worth of knitting to show for each one. And it is hard, like it's no joke. Like it really, especially if you're someone who like works full time, and I obviously haven't got children. I mean, I've got lots of pets who are all looking at me from around the room. I haven't got children, but you know, everybody's got sort of their life commitments. You've got a full life outside of this. So I just think it's like trying to have both things to show plus creating the content is just really a headache. And then it's quite easy to, when you've not caught up, to sort of fall off the wagon with it and be like, oh, I'll just take a week off. I'll take a couple of weeks off. I'll take 3 weeks off. And then it's been like 6 weeks and you're like, do I even have like a presence anymore? Like, I guess that's kind of something that I struggle with. I feel like that's maybe quite niche. I don't know whether that's relatable to everybody, but I think you feel it whether or not you post on YouTube and TikTok, which are a little bit more high effort than Instagram. But nevertheless, with an Instagram, you still want to have things to post, and it can be really frustrating when you feel like you haven't, so I can't post anything. And I know some people will be like, I'll just post like a picture of a jumper I did ages ago, and that's just not, like, I find that so boring. And I get why people do it, because you need something to post. Or where people will post like just like a stack of their old jumpers that they've knitted like years ago, and I just think it's just not for me. Do you know what I mean? But so that's like the problem in itself. But it's more like the emotions for me that come with it. It just makes you feel really like insignificant. You feel like you failed. It's just quite easy to sort of drop off. And I think any amount of success that you have is only a flash in the pan, really. You just got to keep it churning, got to keep it consistent. And this seems like an awful lot of strategy for somebody with like 4,000 followers on Instagram. But I mean, like, this is just the truth of it, right? I think, you know, I probably felt the same when I had 400 followers on Instagram. I mean, for my first year, I didn't even have 100, you know? These are things that sort of go on behind the scenes. Honestly, it's like, if you're interested into what's on my mind, and maybe you're not, then that is what it is. Like, I don't know, I guess that's like not very cool to say. But let's talk about productivity in wider terms, because this is something that is experienced not just by me in my sort of narrow frame of experience, but it's obviously what we all feel to a certain extent. And I think part of that is like competitiveness. I've spoken before about some of the comments that I've got about the way that I knit. So I knit English style, which is where you throw your yarn, and supposedly it's not the fastest way to knit. People are like, oh, you should flick your yarn, you should tension it this way, you should knit continental in order to be faster, because of course you want to be faster and you're knitting too slow and you want to be faster. And it's just, that's kind of this, I guess, toxic mindset. It's like you just got to like be churning things out all the time. You've got to have more, faster, better. And it's just like, it's just a hobby. It's just supposed to be nice. And you know, you can fight against that till the cows come home, but it does get to you and you do feel like, am I being too slow? Am I going to meet my deadlines? And then you're trying to plan out your year of knitting and you're just like, well, I wanted to do this, that, and the other. Am I going to do it? People want gift knit. I think it's not sometimes helped by people who don't knit maybe having unrealistic expectations upon you. And I've done a whole video about gift knitting. We can be very harsh on ourselves about how long knitting should take and what we need to be able to achieve in a certain amount of time, and it's very hard to get there. And I think I have also been somebody who probably perpetrates this online, even though if you ask me, I would say no, it doesn't matter how fast you knit and be easy on yourself. But I do also create these deadlines for myself, had sponsored content with deadlines, I've had test knits with deadlines, obviously gift knits have a deadline, then you have seasonal knits and they've got a deadline, and ultimately you find that actually you're spending a lot of your time really stressed and feeling like you're not doing as you should be doing. And that's okay when you're sort of vaguely keeping on top of it and you're a little bit this and you have a late night here and a late night there, but everything's sort of on top of it. But when you do like I've done over the past 2 months and you sort of take a massive step back and just say like, I'm doing other things and I don't have time, you get this like creeping feeling of like inadequacy or like, oh, well, I guess I have to give up the whole thing. That's what I've been feeling lately. Not like I actually will, but I just feel like it's quite black and white. Like I'm just like, well, I've given up then, haven't I? Like, what's the point? You're not gonna grow anymore on social media. You're not gonna meet your deadlines. You're not gonna have the nice new knitted cardigan. I mean, that's what it comes down to, right? You're not gonna have the knitted cardigan. Gotta forget that. And yeah, I guess it's more about the like personal impact, I guess, than it is about actually what it is. Is any of this even relatable? Is this just me? It's just me having a rant. Yeah, I alluded to some TikTok drama that I thought kind of fitted into this whole conversation as well. This was a TikTok that Midsummer Knits posted, Emma from Midsummer Knits, and it was talking about, content creators doing sort of timed knitting things and being like, can I finish this in a week? Like, how much can I knit in a week or whatever? And that sort of she was really just saying that she didn't enjoy that type of content herself because it doesn't reflect her view of knitting and, you know, about how knitting should be intentional and all of that sort of stuff as well. And I think there is something really interesting about that. And a lot of actually this video that I'm talking about is coming from the perspective of somebody who does create online knitting content. So I'm probably aware that that is maybe a little bit more niche than my normal videos, and they're therefore maybe less interesting. But I do think that's interesting because on the one hand, as a knitter, I agree. I think I already probably feel I don't feel insecure about my knitting speed or anything like that, but I certainly feel inadequate when I haven't knitted enough. And I can see other people seem to have a churn of things to show, and I'm always, you know, so certain people that you see and you think, oh my gosh, like how are they coming out with so much stuff? I'd knit that being a massive example of this. I mean, I know she knits full time, but the speed at which that girl knits is insane, and the things she knits as well is just insane. And honestly, I look at her page and I'm just like, the things that I can't even comprehend it. She's amazing. And to be fair, that's not something that makes me feel inadequate. I just feel like she's amazing. But sometimes, you know, you do see people seem to be churning stuff out and you're like, what's wrong with me? Like, I'm a slow knitter and I clearly just don't have the mindset for it. You know what I mean? What I will say, the other side of that, talking from a content creator perspective, is it's really hard, especially and I'm not a full-time knitting content creator. God, I don't even know if I ever could be, just because of the sheer pressure to always have something new to post. So I'm completely sympathetic as to why a knitting content creator, if they did it full-time or if they did it most of their time and were reliant on it for an income, why they would go after videos like that, because I'm sure they probably get quite a lot of clicks and they generate quite a lot of interest because people want things to be fast. Like, if I'm not a knitter and I've seen that this girl can knit a jumper in a week, that's going to make me want to knit and I'm going to want to watch that video. And equally, if I'm a knitter but I'm a slow knitter and I'm seeing this girl's knitting something in a week, then I'm probably also going to be interested to click on to be like, how is she doing that? And, you know, is it really thick yarn, or like, what's she doing and what's the pattern? And, you know, how can I emulate things like that? Or just being like, what's going on with this girl? I again actually think that style of video, which is a little bit fraught and a little bit like silly, I guess, actually goes back to the point about how difficult it is to create Five Arts content, because you've always got to be pushing it. And it's not just about, if I did a video being like, how much can I knit in a week? It's not just me setting up the camera and doing this and trying to create something, then edit it and do all of that. It's also, I've got to like sweatshop myself to get the product out, to have something to show on the video, otherwise you don't have anything to show. And I just think that's really hard, and it's something that makes it really hard to post knitting content online. And I never post any other type of content, so, you know, I guess maybe that's hard in all sorts of ways. Listen, I didn't actually really have that much more to say. I didn't really have that much to say at all. Hopefully this video was, I guess, insightful as to the things that I'm thinking about. And maybe if you're somebody who posts your knitting content online, or you're interested in starting to post your knitting content online, then maybe there'll be something in this for you that is interesting or that you can relate to. Maybe you've already clicked off this video. Maybe nobody's here at this end bit because they're like, what was she talking about? It's like, she's just clearly in a funk and she's da 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 da, which actually is kind of exactly what is going on. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to not explain myself, but just be like, this is hard. Like, it's a hard, it can be hard. We've got a cat come to say hello now, haven't we? Hello, Frey Frey. You saying hello, Frey Frey? Hopefully in my next video, I'll actually have some more knitting to show, and I'll probably be in a little bit more of a focused mood. Maybe I'll have a scrappy intarsia on the way, and I'll actually feel joy in my knitting again. But let me know your thoughts on knitting content creation, toxic productivity, anything really, what you're knitting. Do you like knitting bobbles? Because I hate it. Is there a trick to it? I hate it. Anyway, hope to see you soon.